So last week I spoke about two things. I want to stretch a bit more. The first was to not take life too seriously, and the second was that you can't control the outcome of every decision you make. So let's start with the first one. You've probably heard it 100 times, don't take life too seriously. And you usually hear that in contrast to things like sports, your career, or school, where people do want you to take things seriously. Like when your parents tell you to take life seriously, they mean to know where you're going, to have a vision, to be responsible, and there's definitely value in that. Now, the reason I brought up don't take life too seriously is because I genuinely believe, and this ties to the second point, which is you can't control how everything turns out. And once you realize that, the way you engage with life changes. But before I move to that second point, I want to slow down and ask myself, when someone says don't take life too seriously, what do they mean? Does that mean to just give up? To flow through life aimlessly? Not at all. In my own experience, many of the major outcomes in my life weren't a result of perfectly calculated decisions. And even when the decision was mine, the way things unfolded, I was never really in control. So when you tell people, take life seriously, I think you need to be careful. Because if you base your whole identity around one vision or that one future outcome, you're setting yourself up for disappointment for when life, it inevitably pivots, right? That's not to say that one shouldn't have goals. I think there are people that are born with a crystal clear sense of purpose where they're willing to sacrifice everything in pursuit of that one goal. We need people like that. But for most people, and myself included, you need something with a bit more balance. To be able to live life fully, to experience it, while also staying intentional. So if we agree that you can't control every outcome, should you still pursue things with full commitment? Should you give up the present for a future that you can't guarantee? I think that's where balance comes in. Because life isn't just black and white, right? There's gray, there's amber, and there's all sorts of in-betweens. An idea that I shared last week was that the world belongs to those who embrace opportunities. Because the one thing that you can control is how you show up when life hands you something. And this goes to something that I truly live by, which is to do things with intent and to take responsibility for where you land. Now I get it, I just said that you can control outcomes. But there is power in owning them, even when they're not entirely yours to shape. Because when you do take responsibility, you become accountable. You build an internal compass where you stop blaming the world and you start asking, what can I do from here? And that is a mindset that helps you move forward when things don't go as planned. It softens the blow for when things fall apart. You don't wait around for someone else to fix it. You trust in yourself to rebuild. Now that brings me to my own story. Why do I think this way? Because the person I am today, the hobbies that drive me, the location I'm currently in, none of this was entirely my decision. But the moments that shaped me were the ones where I embraced the opportunities that were given to me with intent. Because one of my biggest shifts had actually happened in grade 8. I've mentioned before that my father served in the Indian military, and it was during my high school where he decided that you need to complete your schooling from one city. So I was looking for schools, and there was this one school called La Martiniere for Boys that I really wanted to get into. It was one of the most popular schools out there. So I decided to give the entrance test, and I knew it was very difficult to get in, and I wasn't particularly a very bright student. So when I did get the opportunity to give the entrance exam, I did pretty badly. But the school did something rare. The principal actually met with every parent to give them their decision. And I actually respected that quite a lot. So when my turn came, on that day, my father decided to wear his uniform. The principal held up my card and read out the scores, and they were pretty bad. Like I got like a 20 out of 50 in mathematics and something similar in science as well. So he smiled and he said, "Son, there's a lot that you need to work on." And I was expecting him to say, "Try again next year." But he paused and he went like, "Last week I attended a military event where I was catered really well for. And one of the generals, he mentioned to him that he really likes the school and what it stands for, but he sees a lack of representation of children from the army background who'd make great students. So he looked at my dad, he looked at me, he looked down and he said, "You know what? I'm going to start with you." And so I got in. And for most people, that's a victory. And I was really happy that I got into the school that I really wanted to, and I thought everything is going to be smooth sailing from there. But that wasn't the case. In my first year, I really struggled, both academically and socially. I struggled to make friends, something I was really good at making, but because there was a lack of relatability for me, those kids, they grew up together from an early age. They weren't really used to seeing new students join mid-year. So I failed grade 8. It was my first failure. That failure was a heavy blow, not just for me personally, but culturally as well. Back at home, failure brings embarrassment, not to just the person, but to their family as well. But if I was focused on the outcome, which in that instance was me failing, it would have potentially broken me. But I was lucky enough, because of my father's career, that I learned about adaptability at an early stage. So I did the only thing I knew, which was to try again. And in that second year, I made lifelong friends. One of my friends asked if I wanted to join the football team because they were short of a goalkeeper, and I was just so desperate to try and fit in. I was incredibly intentional about learning the sport. And long story short, I ended up playing football for the next 6 years competitively. And even though I wasn't good enough by any means to make it as a professional footballer, there is so much that I learned by playing football. Stuff like resilience, teamwork, leadership, and those were some of the qualities that have shaped me to be the person I am today. In that same year, another friend of mine asked if I, knew how to play the guitar because they were short of a band member. And once again, me trying to fit in, I did my best, and that brought me to music, which is to this date one of my greatest passions. And none of these moments were planned. They all came from a pivot and me choosing to show up with intent. And I think that's the lesson: to not grip life so tightly, but to just be present and to give yourself fully to what's in front of you. I think it's important to mention that not everybody has these opportunities that I've had. For example, learning about adaptability at an early age because of my father's career. And so when people are faced with such situations, it's easy to feel lost and to feel disheartened. And that's why I think the message matters. Don't take life too seriously. But when you do something, do it with intent and do it with heart. And I'll leave you with this one thought. Think of life like writing a book in real time. You don't know what the next chapter holds. There are some plot twists along the way that hurt. Some characters, they leave. But if you keep writing, messy, honest, raw, maybe someday you'll look back and you'll find that you've created a story that's worth sharing. I'll see you guys in the next one.